Bring in Jared McCallop. He is an auto technician from the small town of Zachary, Louisiana. He is participating in his first No Kings protest today in Baton Rouge. Jared, thank you so much for joining us. The thing that is so interesting to all of us, I think, is, one, it's your first time. You're also going to be in Baton Rouge, not New York, not D.C. What brought you specifically to this moment to go out and go to your first protest?
Well, you know, this is a huge protest, the No Kings. Millions of people will be there. That in itself is something that I find very inspiring and engaging, you know, and standing and, you know, finding something that I believe in and standing with Minnesota on the stuff that happened there and everything is, you know, what's driving me to want to get out there and have my voice heard.
Prior to what happened in Minnesota, if you had the opportunity to participate in a protest like this, would you have gone out and showed up?
Yes, most definitely. Like I said, for me personally, these kinds of things are very enjoyable. I find a lot of information and knowledge through going to these events. And spreading the word and stuff like that is something that I also enjoy doing, and striking and having these conversations with these people and stuff. It's very enjoyable to me.
Why do you protest?
Because I would like for everyone else to believe that, you know, there are a lot of people who think the same way that I do or that we do, and they're just too afraid, for whatever their reasoning may be, to come out to these protests and know that there's nothing to fear from being out here or anything like that. It's not what the mainstream media portrays, you know. And I would like to consider myself as being a voice for those people that, you know, feel that way.
Louisiana, not exactly a blue state, pretty ruby red. What is it like to have to find the courage to protest in a ruby red state against Donald Trump?
You know, for me, it was a little nerve-wracking at first, but after actually getting out there and putting boots to the ground, as you would say, it's a lot more positive feedback and positive reactions have come out of it than negative ones from you know, the few that I have been to. So it's very I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
It's just, I was just going to say it's very inspiring to be a part of.
I'm just wondering what your biggest concerns about what the Trump administration is doing are.
For me personally, I think, you know, the war profiteering, the rising gas prices and grocery prices, and the wanting us to do the same amount of work, if not more, but no increase in the wages to compensate for this rising cost of everyday living and things that we need to have in order to do that.
Jared McCallop, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and good luck out there. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Y'all, I love, love, love when our fabulous booking team finds real people who are not politicians, they're not strategists, they're not even organizers of moments like this, because it is a reminder that, like, you know, this is his first No Kings protest. It sounded like he had found himself at other protests before. But the need for people to kind of get shaken a little bit at times, and him talking about, like, representing people that are too scared to go out. How good, Jared. Big fan of Jared.
Yeah. It's also to see what people are concerned about, because, you know, a lot of times you'll talk to electeds or you'll talk to people and you'll be like, but what do people really worry about? And here we hear him War, he is a mechanic, right?
said the war profiteering.
War profiteering and inflation.
Yeah.
Which are two things we know are like big issues, the war and the inflation. So.
Yeah. Our bookers are also excellent reporters and had been in touch with organizers, and that's how they were able to find Jared. But my next booking mission that I want us to embark on, inspired in part by The Daily this week, was getting someone who was a gas station attendant on the show. To see how they're handling the spike in prices.
Was an amazing episode of The Daily talking about making gas more expensive.
It's important for those of us that have shows. It's important for us to remind the people at home that are watching that it's not just the politics or the policies, or the people that make up and are impacted by all of those things. But
it is. It's really helpful to see that direct pipeline reflected in the mainstream media.
You put it.